I think Amy Luby wants to do it.
Go for it.
I was thinking I was tardy, so I forfeited, but all right.
No, you got nominated.
No, you're nominated. now.
Nominated, yeah.
It's that bone-crushing Catholic guilt that I just live with. You know, I'm always feeling shame.
Welcome to the SMB Community Podcast with your hosts, Amy Babinchak, James Kernan, Amy Luby, and Karl Palachuk. Produced by and for the Small Biz Thoughts technology community. We're dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional.
Well, welcome everybody to the SMB Community Podcast. This is Amy Luby, one of the newest members, and super excited to be here. We've got the OG Karl Palachuk in the house, Amy Babinchak, and James Kernan here joining us today. So let's kick this thing off. What are we talking about today, folks?
Everything. I have to say, nobody called me the OG until I started talking about the National Society of IT Service Providers. And then I got on all these podcasts and people would say, here's the grandfather of managed services. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did we skip over father? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know what it is, Karl? It's the Wikipedia thing that you made however long ago.
That's what I'm
where
a
it comes
grandfather?
from. Yeah, well, it mentions you, myself, and Eric Simpson. And I can't tell you how many times, at least on the vendor side, analysts and journalists who have wanted to do an interview and referred back to that old Wikipedia post or page, whatever we call that. It's used in research, in understanding the history of managed services.
So we should ask ChatGPT.
I just logged in. I was just going to do that, Karl.
Okay, this is so not fair. Every time I go, I can't log in. It tells me it's busy. And then it asks me for my email to let me know when it's ready, and it's never ready. I never get an email.
It tells me that it doesn't have any idea who I am. So, I've just been hiding in the world in plain sight. So, but yeah, I think it's the Wikipedia because, Karl's gets a response for it. Jay McBain posted his response, that it gave him, which was both accurate and inaccurate because he's probably not the only Jay McBain in the whole world. So you get a mashup, right?
Right.
Well, I always get confused with an Amy Luby who is a real estate agent somewhere.
Oh, that's a coincidence. There's an Amy Babinchak in Pennsylvania who's a real estate agent.
Really?
Yep.
There cannot be that many Amy Babinchaks.
My dad's family moved here from Pennsylvania. So I'm sure we're some kind of shirt tail relative, but I don't know what that path is.
Yeah, that's an unusual name. Like Kernan, it's semi-unusual. There's a famous horseback rider or equestrian in Ireland named James Kernan. So I frequently get Google alerts. Hey, there's some industry news going on out there about James Kernan.
I know a guy named Kieran from Australia, and he actually belongs to a club of people whose name is Kieran, whose first name is Kieran.
Huh.
Oh, wow. That's cool. So James, you would have a really great GPT. It would talk about how you're an amazing sales coach and leader, football player, and Olympic equestrian rider. You'd be like the most amazing guy ever, world weightlifter.
I did try that, and it did pick up some other weird things from other people, which is pretty funny. So anyway,
you might get a gig as the new most interesting man in the world.
There you go.
As long as I don't get called grandfather, it's all good. It's all good. Sorry, Karl.
This is a problem. It really is because Karl's getting called grandfather, and everywhere I've spoken recently, they introduce me as legendary, which is just a euphemism for old women, I think.
Hey, Amy, that's nowhere near as bad as matriarch of the channel. And that has been an accusation toward me. And I'm like,
ouch.
Wait a minute. Wow. Not okay.
Yeah, those are some fighting words.
You can call me many things, but matriarch is not okay.
But it reminds me of like Dame Judi Dench or something, You're 25 years too young.
There you go. Side note on the Irish lineage, Thomas O'Luby was a significant figure in the formation of the IRA. So,
Oh, Luby.
yep.
Come from a long line of rabble rousers.
It's literally in my DNA.
Linode, a top infrastructure as a service provider, has resources specifically for helping MSPs explore the alternative cloud. Discover this growing market, one of the best kept secrets in building a scalable, thrivable, modern managed service provider business. Learn about the cloud provider landscape, improving KPIs, security, and more in Linode's free book, The MSP's Guide to Modern Cloud Infrastructure, available now. This resource and more at linode.com/MSP radio.
So I know one topic that you talked about last week. I missed last week's podcast, but you guys were talking about the unemployment rate, and a lot of good people out in the channel looking, and something normally as a growth coach, you're working with growth-minded MSPs, right? And they're constantly, we always say, always be recruiting, always be recruiting. So there was historically the last couple of years since pre-COVID, it had been a significant shortage of people, good people available. And it kind of seems like that's slowly changing, starting, maybe the end of Q4 and certainly in January here. There's a lot of people looking for work. And some customers of mine are now saying, oh my gosh, I've got a dozen candidates when before they wouldn't have any.
Good.
So it's kind of interesting. What are you guys seeing out there?
Similar, but and I can only, well, not only, my most recent experience with the vendor side of the channel, what I'm seeing is, well, one, we've seen in the news the major vendors, manufacturers, software companies that have been laying off folks. But even in our MSP space, there have been layoffs. There have been emerging vendors who have really, come up over the last 2 or 3 years, and they're just silent, which is really interesting. But coming back from that, the salaries are going down. It was pretty, you could get a pretty nice salary in the vendor space, especially if you had MSP experience, whether it was vendor MSP experience or being an MSP crossing over. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of shoring in of those dollars.
And I think that that's consistent with the fact that all the layoffs are at the big companies, right? So to the extent that the vendors are representing large companies with over 500 employees, they're the ones who are laying off. And as Amy mentioned last time, there's been a lot of hoarding of employees. Microsoft increased by 50% during the pandemic. And so now they're shedding 10% or 5%. That seems like a very reasonable, trimming of the overgrown bushes.
Yeah.
But I think it's good if it brings down the wages and makes it affordable, because an MSP can't pay $180,000 for tech, right? There's just, it's better to not grow than to go bankrupt trying to hire an expensive tech.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
100%.
Well,
I don't know if they're actually shedding people that MSPs are going to want to hire, though.
Good point.
They're mostly, they're going to be developers, they're going to be project managers, program managers, that kind of stuff. So this is probably a good boon for vendors to pick up some great people, but I don't think it's so much in an MSP play.
But if it brings the salaries down overall, that's a good thing.
Yeah, we've had the wage inflation has really hit us pretty hard. Even existing employees, right? They wanted that 7.5%, and if you're an MSP, it's not, it's hard. Yes, we can raise our rates, but it's tough to have big wage increases like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough even for vendors too. Frankly, although I found it pretty consistent in the vendor world to adjust every year based on CPI. So they do it. I don't see it in the MSP side.
Yeah.
Hardly at all.
It's a good time. It's a good time to recruit. There's a lot of good people out there. And I've always said, when you find an A player in the channel, whether you need them or not, you need to try to grab them and put something together where you could, bring that person on in some capacity. So anyway, keep your eyes out because there's good people out there.
On other tidbits of news, are you guys following the Elon thing? I can't talk about it on the other podcast. Dave will not allow more than one Elon story per 6-month period.
That'd be plenty of Elon stories for me too. I'm a little tired of it myself. I don't even know what to do with Elon this week.
I just think he's super interesting. I think he's villainized a lot in the media, and I just find him fascinating, and it'll be really interesting to see this culture shift and how it pans out.
But at this point, he's getting interviewed and questioned on everything, nothing to do with his companies, or, it's just like, what do you think about what's happening in some small town in Korea? And he, and they assign an opinion to him, whether or not that's his opinion, who knows, but
right.
He's the clickbait today.
Yeah, he's the one selling all the newspapers, that's for sure. But the one interesting thing kind of tying into, I guess, to one of the platforms that, what's it called? The TikTok equivalent in the United States that supposedly Twitter owns, is, with all the security issues going on with China, that multiple states now are banning TikTok.
Right.
And, they're not letting their employees use it. So more and more people are following suit. So TikTok is slowly going out of the picture. And then now Elon's looking good again because the Twitter company that owns, I forget the name of the platform, it's called Holiday or something like that. That's kind of the new queen on the block. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I never really got into TikTok anyway. I heard things about it in the beginning.
Did a video recently about, you don't have to follow every one of these social media trends, because there's TikTok and Instagram, obviously, and but there's, Clash and Triller and Byte and Funny Mate and Cheese, and there's literally hundreds of them, and you have to go figure out where your audience is. If you are going to go to TikTok, you have to tell me a story that you actually have clients who are hanging out on TikTok and would actually look at anything you posted there.
There's somebody, and you guys may know who this is. I don't know. A guy named Kieran. He shows up in my Facebook feed and TikTok pretty regularly. He's an MSP consultant or something, who's making great use of TikTok, and it's like little sound bites on best practices.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say great use, he's got an audience and he's getting clients.
I have no idea if he's getting, I don't know if it's turning into dollars, but visibility. I mean, he's more visible to me than anybody in this space that I would know.
Huh.
That doesn't say much, but he's making great use of it. And I don't know, maybe it's my algorithm, because I'm like, oh.
The marketing consultant, Kieran Maloney, is out of Ireland. That's I've seen him online as well. I don't know him or don't know his stuff. Seems like a high energy guy. Obviously,
that's what I'm talking about.
That's him. Yeah. Great dancer on TikTok. But, and then not that we're going to continue to talk about Elon Musk, because I don't think we're supposed to, but I agree with Amy Luby. He's a fascinating businessman to me. And, just done some amazing things with technology, with his organizations. And I'd keep an eye on him, even though the Twitter stock got, or the, his
Tesla stock.
Yeah, Tesla stock took a beating. I think that's a good buy. So.
Well, I think it took a beating because he took such a financial risk buying Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's yet to see if that's going to pay off or not.
Yeah.
The
True.
latest Wired magazine, which I, for whatever reason, shows up physically. I can't get them to stop sending it to me. Once you subscribe, it's everything. You get a digital and paper. Anyway, it's got 2 articles about Twitter, and both of them just sort of carte blanche assume it's dead. It's like, oh, so is the death of Twitter a good thing or a bad thing? It's like, wait, you skipped the step. Right?
Yeah.
I'm
What?
not dead yet.
Well, how much do you guys use Twitter? Like, do you actively try and build followers and engage in Twitter?
I post. I don't. And I browse for, the standard 7 seconds. I like anybody I like, and I go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I post occasionally. I consume Microsoft's content, although a lot of Microsoft moved over to Mastodon. So I created an account over at Mastodon. It seems like the whole IT security community, Microsoft and others, moved to Mastodon. So I followed them over to Mastodon.
I have a Twitter account and post occasionally, but it's more of a feed for live or real-time information for me. But I don't really use it as a business tool. I spend more energy on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. So
How do you use Instagram as a business tool? I use it for my photography and gardening stuff, but I have never tried to use it as a business thing.
It doesn't convert much on the coaching consulting side, and I don't really push it. To me, it's more of more of my personality comes out on Instagram, I should say, where I'm not so politically correct. Hint, hint. But but
What kind of pictures are you posting?
Well, he's dancing. Let's just say that.
Yeah, exactly. Dancing in my underwear. But it's more fun.
You just got a surge of
Right. New followers on Instagram.
So Dave Seibert goes to every show on earth, like literally, you name a show in the IT industry, he goes to it, but he goes to other shows too. And I turned the recorder on because Dave started talking about going to Concrete World. Why did you go to Concrete World?
So in a 3.5 week period, CES, Consumer Electronics Show, right?
That's obvious.
Yeah, but that's not exactly solution provider stuff.
Right? No, but it's good. Yeah.
And then SHOT Show, which ammos, guns, grenades, tear
rocket
gas,
launchers.
Fun things that are totally solution provider based, right? Concrete World, which you would think concrete, it's gray, it's boring. What are you going to do with it? Until you've seen an impact drill that can drill through an 8-inch concrete hardened floor in 2 seconds. That's exciting stuff. And if you put in any ladders, any 4-post racks or anything like that, you actually have to drill in concrete, right? So, or at least some of you do.
In California, we do.
There you go. And next week is a National Hardware Show. Everybody needs to see the latest, hardware widget.
So is this actually good for your industry, for your business, or is this just interesting? And then you get a sense of how people market and how people is there a business lesson here somewhere?
There is, as funny as it is. Okay, first of all, is it fun? Absolutely. Does it help the MSP business? Of course not. Not really. CES actually does. Because
CES, I'm sold on CES. That's not a problem.
Yeah. But Concrete World and SHOT Show and National Hardware Show, it doesn't do a damn thing for an MSP. But it is a lot of fun, and life is short, and we work hard, we should play hard.
Exactly. Well, one time I was in Las Vegas, and I can't remember what hotel it was, but the Home Depot show was there. And I remember one time going up an escalator, long escalator, and everybody except me had a tool case in their hand. And it was like a good size toolbox, that they got brand new for sitting in on whatever the last seminar was. You just got to wonder how many of those got shipped home as luggage. Like, oh, I'm just going to put my socks in the toolbox and put my
Hey, let
name
me
on.
tell you, at Concrete World, because I was there on the last day. On Concrete World, they have a diamond tipped bits. And they also have, like if you're trying to get tile off the floor, okay, business application. You go to a new client, they got a computer room, it's got tile on the floor, they want to replace the tile because it's discolored. Now you know how to chip it off the floor, right?
There you go.
But anyway, they had this like 30-piece kit of these diamond tipped drill bits for concrete. And it's like, here you go, take one with you. And so you do walk away with a little bit of fun swag that's useful.
What would you pay for Chat GPT? If that's something that's so popular, we have to charge for it.
Nothing, because it's not up consistently.
Oh, no. By assuming that they get some money and they decide to install all the knowledge in the universe.
I don't expect to ever pay anything for Chat GDP directly. I think it's just a tool that's going to be integrated into other applications, right? This thing where I can go to a website and type stuff in, this is just a beta, right? So, when I go to my Publer, which who I used for posting now, I expect that on their back end, they're going to eventually subscribe. And when I go to enter my things, it's like, here's, it'll say like, here are 10 suggestions for how you can, modify this content.
Yep.
It's what should have happened with IBM's Watson. It should have been embedded.
Yeah.
It would have lived.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Watson is still alive, but it's being sold at very high-end stuff. So
Right. Right. Should have been embedded technology though. Should have been everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what Microsoft is doing, right? That's why they've invested so heavily in the OpenAI company or project, whatever they call the thing, because they've got their DALL-E product already, which is Designer, and Chat GPT is joining the Azure AI family. So,
So you think that the current product that everybody loves and is going insane about will cease to exist?
Yeah.
Wow. To me, that just means that they'll leave a gap for an alternative AI to fill, because I think that people actually want to go play with it. They want to go do that.
Well, there's other platforms too that are out there, but yeah, I don't know that it'll go away for like what it is right now, where you can go to a website. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. The embedded model is where they'll make their money licensing it out.
Yeah.
To all these other platforms, so they don't have to create the technology.
The days of it going up and down will be over when, once they start figuring out how to spend that $10 billion Microsoft gave them.
There are also a lot of fake Chat GPT websites out there too. I noticed last time I went to go use it, I saw all of a sudden my search came up, instead of with one, it came up with like 20 options. Do you want the OpenAI /Chat GPT?
I'd be awesome. You put in a question and it says, "Oh, you should join Amy's peer group." That's the answer to every question.
I can feed it the answers.
Sponsored ad. That's a sponsored ad.
One of the tools that bloggers use a lot is called Jasper AI. I've not used it, but I mean, it's similar. It's the same concept. You put in the topic and keywords and it'll give you 10 different versions of a blog.
Huh.
So, I mean, Chat GPT, I think, got the air cover because Microsoft is investing in them, but they're not the first to market.
Well, I see the ads for, this ad was written by a robot. Shouldn't yours be as well? Or you're reading it or something. I've never clicked on one because I just literally know that I'll be going down a rabbit hole and never stop seeing those ads for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I did that with Jasper AI. Unfortunately, I had to report it. I was getting retargeted too much. It's like, hey, back off, simmer down, Turbo. Geez. Well, I'm pretty excited about Orlando, Florida. So being in the Midwest, anytime I can get some sunshine, I'm all over it. But I'll be down in Orlando, Florida at a cybersecurity mastermind event with ThreatLocker, March 30th and 31st. I'll drop the link in there to register. But for two days of content around cybersecurity, we'll be there with ThreatLocker and other complementary partners in the cybersecurity space, and it's really going to be about, what's in your stack and how to sell more security, how to have that awkward conversation with prospects and your current customers, more importantly. But looking forward to that. So watch out, and pretty soon I'm going to be really tan. So just agree, Karl.
Awesome. I don't have an event per se, but I'm going to be in Norwalk, Connecticut on the 23rd of February, meeting with a big group of our CMIT MSPs. So if anybody's around / in the area, I'd be available for happy hour, dinner, whatever, day before, day after. So
Fun.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to the ASCII event in February. And that's in Southern California. So it seems like a hop, skip, and a jump, but it still costs money for airline and hotel and everything. So
Yeah.
But I'm going to hang out for a few days. And if there's any sunshine, I will probably wander over to the beach as well.
is that their first one this year?
I don't know if it's their first one, but it's certainly the first one that is close to me, right? I try to go to one in, when they're in California, right? So
Didn't they kind of reboot their format? I remember some buzz at the beginning of the year. Guys,
they
seemed
have a
like
new
it's
name
been so long
and
ago.
whatnot. I think it's just ASCIIevents.com would be my guess, but yeah, they have, I don't know, some minor change in the format. I'm sure it's still 97% vendor content, but it's also good marketing, and it's good. I always like networking with all the good folks there.
Oh yeah, no, they're good events.
So I've been a member of ASCII probably, I don't know, 20-ish years. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Cool. Yeah, there's a ton of events coming up. So
Over at the National Society of IT Service Providers, we are trying to get a booth at all these events. So if you run an event and you want to give us a table, we will find one of our members nearby and make sure that they show up with a tablecloth and some handouts and some stickers to give away and all that. So let us know. Send us a note.
Well, we have our big CMIT event every year. This year it'll be end of August. Everybody's going to want to come to Austin in August.
Oh,
yeah. I can hear the sizzling cement right now.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
true of every conference. They love to put them into the off season, which means you're always traveling to everywhere in its worst possible moment.
CompTIA is the worst. They're literally like, oh, we should be in Miami in August, September. We should be in Vegas in August. Like, oh,
Chicago in March.
Yeah, March. Whoops. We're trying something different, and it's outside hurricane season.
What?
But we're gonna do an event on a cruise ship. So in December. So December 11th through the 14th. I think it's a 4-day Mexican Riviera cruise off of the coast of Los Angeles. And that one's going to be, I'm always so focused on the speakers and the content and exercises, and this one's going to be fun. So if you want to learn but have fun and learn a little bit and then have a bit of fun, we'll be promoting that soon, because we only have limited spots available. And
so is that like down to Puerto Vallarta?
Yeah, it kind of goes down the Mexican Riviera. I think it hits Catalina Island first, and then goes down the coast, and then comes back up. And we made it 4 days. We're just our normal events are 2 days. This one's just going to be 1 day of business content. I figured that's the max time I could herd all the cats and keep people captive in one room before.
Isn't Catalina Island kind of cheating because it's like a mile offshore?
It's further than that, but yeah, it is just off the coast. It has have you guys ever been to Catalina Island?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing place. I did a couple events there with my old company, Networks Plus, when we were down in San Diego. But it's a fascinating island, and I think half of the island or most of the island was owned by one of the original Chicago Cubs owners of the baseball club, and they used to have their preseason over there.
Nice.
And, yeah, there's some interesting history there. So
you have to take the
beautiful
ferry,
landscape.
a boat over to the island to go see the baseball team.
Yeah. You people would ferry over. The last time I was there, I took a little tiny airplane, and Amy, with her adventurous life, was probably been in them before, but it was just my wife and I in this little 4-seater plane, and you could lean forward with your seatbelt on still and move the curtain, to say hello to the pilot. That's how secure it was, but also how tiny it was. And it looked like we were flying directly into the side of a cliff. And at the last minute, whoosh, he went up, and then the runway's right there.
Wow.
And, after screaming and wetting my pants, we landed safely.
This is the TMI for James.
Check him out on Instagram.
Yeah, really. Anyway, it's a fun place.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Love talking about all the topics. We've got Amy Babinchak, James Kernan, and the OG Karl Palachuk signing out. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the SMB Community Podcast. If you found this useful, interesting, or fun, please subscribe, share with your friends, and give us a thumbs up on your favorite social media. Please check out the show notes at smbcommunitypodcast.com and give us your feedback.